Kids, tonight is the first installment of Church. This is Church number 1. Now, I made a video like yesterday or the day before outlining my new idea about putting on an online church. And the church is non-denominational. You can believe anything or nothing at all and be welcome here. Today, we're going to talk about religious freedom. And this is very key and important to the foundation of what this church is going to stand for. I'm your clergyman, Michael, and it's nice that you joined us today. The nice thing about this church is it doesn't have to happen on any particular day, at any particular time. You can watch it whenever you want, or you don't have to watch it at all. You can watch 5 seconds of it. You can watch the whole thing. You can turn it on, turn it off, do whatever you want. You're in full control, and that's the way it shall always remain. No one's going to ask you for anything or make you do things, and there's no funky rituals required. You don't have to wear anything special. You don't have to be any place special. It's just here whenever you need it. I'm not going to go in depth into any particular religion because, once again, we're totally non-denominational. Again, you don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to believe anything. If you just want to sit and listen, excellent. But the first topic I want to talk about is particularly important because it's a fundamental in this church. And that is religious tolerance and freedom. They go hand in hand. Now, whatever you choose to believe, whatever religion you are or non-religion you are, or whatever your belief structure is perfectly fine. Your right to believe it ends at the end of your nose, however. You have no right to infringe on other people's rights or make them or force them to believe what you believe, either by protesting or legislating or whatever. Now, I know in many parts of the world that is the norm. They're institutionalized religions in government that beat people and misinterpret policies in books to use to torture people, and frankly, I just think it's a shame. It's shameful, and it should never be that way. No religion ever taught that I've ever read, and I've read a lot about a lot of different religions. I just do not understand how this is tolerated, but yet it is. And along with that, many religions, including the popular Christianity here in my country, had a long, drawn-out history of treating women like third-class citizens, much like some religions still do today in other countries. And many religions have not escaped that surly bond. That is actually something that most of the major religions have in common, as they treat women like third-class citizens. How that happened, I don't know. It seems like they're very patriarchal in their setup. That's not necessarily the case in paganism, however. Pagans tend to use women as more of the dominant figure in their religion. Anyhow, when we have religious tolerance, that means that if someone wants to believe the sky is purple, and they need to bow to toadstools and kiss them facing west on every other Thursday, they should have the right to do that, and you should applaud them for doing that. And as long as it's making them happy or giving them some sort of fulfilled need, then great, let it happen. But there's not any one right or wrong religion or belief or way to believe it. Most major religions have splintered off into multiple sects. they disagree on many things. So obviously, no one has the ultimate answer, or if there was just one answer, we'd all agree on exactly how it was done, and this wouldn't even be a discussion at all. And I know many people would love to force that idea down other people's throats. Unfortunately, that's not religious freedom. That's forcing your beliefs down other people's throats. I quite carefully don't do that. I do point out when others do it. I don't like it. That's my choice. Because, again, your freedom ends at the end of your nose. So does my freedom. I do not foist and make people believe what I believe. I frankly, by the time I finished explaining it, I'd probably be so exhausted because it took a lifetime of living to get to where I am believing what I believe. Now, often in the church that I belong to, or the faith that I'm actually a clergy for, which doesn't actually have a church, we teach that if we're called, that we are to speak of people looking into their own faiths themselves. In other words, not sitting and listening to someone tell you how to interpret something, or tell you how to feel about something, or not reading it for yourself and never questioning things, even if they don't make sense, but indeed to read it for yourself. And if you do have conundrums or things that seem to not work out quite well in the logic train, that you're to question them with the authority of whoever you are dealing with. And if you're dealing with no authority and you come to a conundrum, that should throw up a red flag to you that there is a problem there, and that you need to work it out or move on to something else. That is very, very, very important in your personal religious freedom. Do not allow yourself, in my belief, to get stuck just listening to somebody else tell you what to think. Then it's not your religion. It's their religion. And they are telling you how to behave and what to believe. So then you therefore cannot claim it for yourself if all you are doing is just allowing someone else to do all your thinking, all your reading, all your feeling, and everything else for you. And then when they tell you to kneel down and pray, you kneel down and pray. That's not religious freedom. That is a pack mentality. It's like the herder herding along sheep. And if you have no more mentality than a sheep, I'm very sorry for you. It must be quite embarrassing at times, especially when the leader of your flock fails, because it happens all the time in all different kinds of churches, all over the world, every single day. Scandal after scandal after scandal. Fallen leader after fallen leader after fallen leader. Fallen institution after fallen institution. It just is the way it is. And that is because people allow other people to lead them around like sheep. And they stop thinking for themselves. And they start in this herd mentality. It's like a mob, literally. A lynch mob in some instances, as we've seen like with the Westonboro Baptist Church. Literally a lynch mob mentality that runs around shouting the most hateful things that no one could ever say were spiritual or religious at all in any way, shape, or form, and yet they're tolerated for their religious freedom. And if that's what they choose to believe, great, but it ends at the end of their nose. Always remember that when you're voting or when you're thinking about taking action on someone or lifting your finger to curse them because they are not believing what you are believing. I'll give you a great example of this that happened last year. Actually, last year was I forget the date, but I happened to be in Orlando at this event. It was a Qigong event. If you know what Qigong is, it's essentially Reiki on the fly. It's this very slow moving, very spiritual thing that is done with your body and your breath. There is nothing magical to it. There is no God attached to it. It is just pure physical and spiritual energy flowing through your body via your body's movements and your lungs and the air you're breathing. And at this event, which was held at a public hotel on a public lawn, which was rented, the entire community was, besides the Qigong community, the entire community was allowed to come out for free and participate. And some of the people that chose to go out and participate happened to be from I don't know what church. I do know that they were supposedly Christians, and they decided to bring their Bibles and stand on chairs and start screaming at the crowd, which they were far outnumbered. It was like 4 or 5 of them to like 4,000 of us, and started screaming at us, telling us that we were evil and we needed to repent and we needed to turn away, and that as they were speaking, they were actually breathing. And we just began our program while they were still at it. No one wanted to hear their message. They certainly weren't welcome, and they seemed extremist by anybody's standards. So then they began to scream, "Don't breathe. You're not breathing in air. You're breathing in demons." Yet they were breathing this. We were outside on the same lawn where they were standing, and they were also breathing in that same air. And at some point, people like myself pointed out to them that you're standing right in the same air, breathing it, so you can scream at us. Shouldn't you get away? And they really had nothing to say. It kind of took them back for a moment because it really made no sense. There was zero common sense to the entire argument. And the fact that they wanted to curse us and turn us away from doing something perfectly harmless that we all voluntarily, drove to this event to enjoy, seems like their idea of religious freedom is my way or the highway. And certainly that should never be the case for anyone. Because, like I said, if there was any one true answer, we'd all be using the same answer. And certainly no one will ever be able to claim that. Because it's all just objective and relative. And the last thing about religious freedom I want to bring up is this. Religion can sometimes be, and spirituality too, can sometimes be used to fill in the blanks of your life. In other words, if you're in an unhappy or sexless relationship, or you're an empty nester, or you're single and you really want to be in a partnership with someone or whatever, you can, and many times people do, use religion to fill in the gaps in their lives. And sometimes that can be just as addictive as drugs, and sometimes even more because it's supposedly more acceptable. But that is not religious freedom. That is just an addiction. And if you find yourself addicted to your religion, that is unhealthy and you should get an intervention. I know that sounds extreme, but that is the case, and I have seen it many times in my lifetime. And I've had actually many clients come to me with religious addictions. And once it was pointed out what the voids were, suddenly then we could start breaking down the cycle of addiction and getting on with the life instead of putting Band-Aids on a bad wound that actually just needs to be stitched up. So that's my sermon today. I won't keep you any longer. So I hope you enjoyed sermon number 1 on religious freedom. Let everyone enjoy their own beliefs, but remember your beliefs end at the end of your nose. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise or do otherwise. Practice your faith well. Read your faith. Understand your faith. Feel your faith. And then test it out and see how it really works in real life for you and for those around you. It's an eye-opening experience. Have a great day.